Hello, ladies. Welcome back. It is day 4 of the Sip from the Well 10 Days of Pause Challenge. Why is it called a challenge? Because it is challenging, right? It is challenging to lock in and consider some of the concepts we're talking about, really reflect on your life and the patterns that you've been living and really think about what are some possible things that may need to shift in your world, right? That sounds great, but it's not always easy to do. So I commend you for being here and taking this time to make some adjustments in your world. And let's get into it today. So today is day 4 of the challenge. And day 4, we are talking about creativity. So, as you can probably tell, I am a creative girl. I'm an artsy girl. I painted the painting behind me, as I talked about earlier. I have bright colors everywhere. This is my chair in my office. It's a bright yellow. It doesn't even look as bright in this video as it actually is, but it's bright. My glasses are bright. I'm always wearing some kind of big earring. I love jewelry. All of that stuff is creativity. It is how I express myself. It is how I like to show up in the world. Like, I do not like having on the same pair of earrings, the same outfit, the same anything when I walk into a room. I want to be the only one that has on what I have on. So I'm always looking for interesting pieces of jewelry, interesting glasses. Um, I like to have things that stand out. Not even so that they draw attention, but I just like the uniqueness of them, and I like different colors and shapes and textures. That's just who I am. That aspect of who I am was almost snuffed out. The aspect of who I am, the creative being of who I am, was almost snuffed out from a very young age. So, why am I talking about creativity today? And why am I about to share this story with you? Creativity is one of the most profound ways that we can add sparkle to our lives, that we can tap into joy, that we can heal um, wounds in our heart. It's a great tool for people who are grieving, who are hurting from losses. Um, there's so much I could say about creativity. Um, and you may be listening to this video and being like, I don't have a creative bone in my body. I do not accept that. Okay. I do not accept that you do not have a creative bone in your body. And you know why I don't accept that? Because you were created in the image of the Creator. God is the best creator that there is. He created you, He created me, and we are created in His image, which means we have the ability to create. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that everyone is an artist? Maybe not. And for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to make a distinction between a creative person and an artist, just for the sake of conversation, okay? So an artist is someone who actually produces art, like paintings, music, um, what other kinds of art? Graphic design, those are artsy people, right? Those are your artists. Your creatives, your the flair, people with a flair about them. But to have a creative spirit belongs to each and every one of us because we were created in the image of God, who is the creator. Creativity has the ability to shift so much in our lives, as I said. And what do I mean when I say it was almost snuffed out of me? So I am what you would call a creative. I am an artist, meaning that I've had this bent for music and singing and art and creativity from a young age, movement, dance, flagging, ballet, all of those types of things have been a part of my life since the time I was a very young girl. Um, Without making the story too long, there were certain things that happened in my life that caused those creative outlets to be shut down. When that happened, I shut down. A part of me shut down. That happened around the age of 8 when the things started coming against to shut down the spirit of creativity within me. So as I continue to grow and mature and get older and older, I had a wound toward that creativity that was kind of ripped away and pulled out of my life. So I would not take part in certain things that normally, had I continued on the path that my life was going, I would have been deeply involved in probably spoken word and, poetry slams and all that kind of stuff. That would have been a part of who I was. But because of these things that happened, I was shut down to trying new things and expanding my creativity. Then, fast forward to the age of 28 years old. When I was 28 years old, I had been dating someone who I loved very dearly. And at the time, um, we weren't sure what our future lives would look like, but we talked about getting married. What would it be like for us to get married? We used to dream about it, talk about it. And it was just something that was like in my mind, oh, it's going to happen. That has to happen. Like, you know, that was where I was at in that moment. That person was tragically killed in a train accident. And I felt like my life, my future was ripped away. That person was an artist. He was a creative, very talented photographer, drawer, um, spoken word artist, poet, rapper, so many diverse gifts that he walked in. But he was ripped out of my life. And at the time, I was in such a state of deep grief and felt so much void in my life that what did I do? I just kept living. I just kept going. And I was pretty much living life going through the motions. And I don't know that I actually knew that that's what I was doing. I think to me, I was just living life. But God, as he often does to his kids, God got my attention. And he said to me, Nicole, you cannot continue living this way. You are going through the motions, and I need you to get up and I need you to live life. What did he do to help me in that process, art and creativity? He began to lead me to go to art stores. Now, I had no idea what I was doing because the art that I was used to doing from long ago was just like an art class at school or little art workshops that my parents would take me to, and a lot of dance and ballet and stuff like that. So I never really was one who would frequent art stores at that time. But I found myself going to an art store every couple of days, and you could tell I didn't know what I was doing because I would get like one paintbrush, one tube of paint, one canvas, and it's like, Nicole, what are you doing? Like looking back, it's like, what was this? But it was the way that God was walking me through this process of gathering all of these art supplies. I really didn't know why, but by the time the year anniversary of his death came, I had gone to the art store so much that I had all of these canvases, all this paint, all these paintbrushes, and I spent that entire day, morning into the late night, music blaring, painting on canvases. And that was the way that God sparked not only a healing in my heart from who I had lost, not that all the pain was gone, but it was like the beginning. It was like the catalyst of coming out of the deep, deep sorrow to where I wasn't really living, using paint and color and music to bring me out of that. But not only did he do that, bringing me out of the deep sorrow of loss, he was resurrecting my creative gift and my creative longing, the desire that was deep within me. He used that painful incident to resurrect something that was being buried in my life. God resurrected it using art and creativity. And so, what I want to speak to you about today is just the power of art and creativity to spark joy in your life. And so, this pause is the creativity pause. And creativity is something that is in all of us. It could be as simple as a little sketchbook and a pencil that you use to doodle. If you're in a meeting, you take notes by doodling, or even if you're on the phone with a girlfriend, you take a pause and do your little doodle. It is so powerful. It awakens places in us that have been forgotten, that have been buried. Because who are the most inventive, creative little people? Kids. And what happens when we go to school? Our creativity is starving when we go to school. And it's like, if we can tap into that creativity and that wonder that children have, it can be so healing, so freeing, and just so enjoyable. Enjoyable. Creativity is the pause that can spark joy in your life. So, here are my suggestions for you. Today, take 5 minutes. Doodle, color, write, or play with words, whatever you feel you want to do. Don't judge it, just do it. The idea is not about what you are producing, it is about the process of doing, the process of what you are doing. And I want you, as you do that, to reflect, what did you discover when you gave yourself permission to have some creative play? The spark of creativity is always within you. It's within every one of us. And you have the ability to create space to do this. Now, one of the reasons why me as an artist, why I don't paint as much as I would like to, is because it can be messy. And when you don't have a dedicated space, it can be a pain. So what I want you to consider, this is my little tip for the creative pause, is creating a little creativity bag. If you love pencils, put some colored pencils in there. If you love pastels, put some pastels in there. If you love watercolor, put some watercolor in there. Get some little paper, markers, we're talking little bag. Have it set aside so that whenever you decide that you are going to have a creative pause, it's small, simple, easy, no cleanup, except for to put the stuff back in the bag. So that is my encouragement to you today, is to try the creative pause. Let me know how it goes for you.